Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to another new Katasa Healing Talk. And after a little bit of break, we're starting up again, and we're starting up with talking about a question that our friend Vicky had. And it's about how to move forward from a cancer experience. And my name is Helmut. I'm here with Kay Cadell Whitaker, and of course, our friend Vicky. Hi. Hi, everybody. And do you want to read your question or do you want me to read it, Vicky?
I don't have a copy of it in front of me, so why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I pull it up. And here we go. A big question I have been wrestling with is how to move forward from the cancer experience or any big health challenge, from the programming of how it might return, from the physical trauma, the thought forms, and the reality of actively continuing the healing on my body, bringing together all the catharsis training and teachings to create radiant health. And how can I monitor it to know if it returns or not? So there we have it. Anything you want to add to that, or are we good to go, Vicky?
I think we're good to go.
All right.
Okay to go.
Well, the first thing in Katasi is I'm hearing an echo that comes back from my voice. Okay. I don't know if that's better or not. It's a little better. Right? It was quite loud. So in Katasi, we have the understanding that whatever happens to us spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically is going to affect all of us, that we're very connected all together. It isn't just one separate layer that you could ignore and set aside or deal with on every other Tuesday and it's all done and good. But it's one whole unit, one whole entity. So if we want to heal something that is physically expressing, when we look at the teaching says energy comes first. Always. Energy is first. It's first manifested. Things are manifested in an energy form. And then it expresses through the different areas, parts of your being, and expresses ultimately physically. So we definitely are involved in what has been created physically within our bodies. We have been a part of it. We may have run into all kinds of different things that affect us in different ways. They stimulate different things. We've run into poisons. We have accidents. We have traumas. We have emotional or mental, psychological problems, events, injuries. And these all are recorded through your entire body on all these different levels. I use these English words like levels and pieces and parts, and that's hopefully because that's common language. Hopefully everybody's going to know what that ultimately means. But we're not in parts and pieces. We're not separated. So the energy has come in to the body, whoever is dealing with any kind of an issue, and we're creating energy. We're creating all kinds of energies and feelings and thoughts and everything else out there in the world. It's all creating stuff too. We're all connected and we're all exposed in various degrees to all of it. Who knows what we have come into contact with? But one of the big effects is inside of ourselves, inside of our own emotions, our own thoughts, our own belief system, which is part of the way we think. And what we hold in that belief system is going to make a huge difference on what all these different experiences and effects are on our physical body, or the ultimate end product in the manifestation. So looking through your life, we can sometimes see where these different problems have come into being, have come into our cells, into our lives, into our way of thinking. We can, when we're looking deeply at ourselves, and I mean, really honestly, looking at ourselves about what our beliefs are. Do you believe in cancer? Anybody out there listening, do you believe in cancer, that it exists, that we can acquire it? Or do you believe we can catch it like a germ? Do you believe it is cast upon you like a spell? What are your beliefs? We have millions of different beliefs that we've collected through our lives. The society, through one venue or another, has bestowed upon us this grand collection of beliefs, and they end up controlling our lives. They end up deciding how we're going to deal with all of this onslaught of different effects. Are we going to be able to deal with that in a good way, process it through and out? Are we going to be able to just block some of these things so they bounce off of us? Are we going to let them inside our bodies so that our belief system allows our body to create a disorder because of this energy, this effect that reached us? If we want to get well from anything, these things have to be addressed. Or you can use it as your ticket to leave the world, to leave this manifested world, if that's your goal. And in Katasi, we just don't judge. We don't have judgments of any of these things. We know some effects are going to end up being harmful if we can't change it in some way. But we don't judge it. We don't condemn it. When our beliefs are held really, charged and full of these energies where we judge everything, we're condemning everything, and we're blaming everything, everybody, and we just can't stop. We're addicted to judging and condemning everything all around us through our day. that's ultimately going to make us sick with one thing or another. And in Katasi, we have a group of ideas we call the no-nos, and judgments at the top of that list, and what our beliefs are, trying to learn how to go through these beliefs. When you start working with it, you really understand, you could see it, you could feel it, how they control us. They keep us asleep. They keep us numbed out. So the first thing in the Katasi way is to look at this disease, this disorder, from this perspective. And we have other choices that are available to us. We can look at the medical system and see if they have something that feels right to us. They don't know anything about this way of thinking, this way of living and being. And they're most likely going to talk about surgery and very harsh chemicals, chelation chemicals and radiation and all those steps that the pharmaceuticals, maybe that works, maybe that doesn't, but they're very harsh. They're hard on the body. So another big area, a big step for the diseases that our body gets from who knows how many different onslaughts that we've had through our life that have ended up creating these different disorders, is what are we physically exposed to in terms of our food and our lifestyle, the soaps we use on our body, on the dishes, on the floor, everything. The other chemicals, we're so used to having so many chemicals now in our environment and in everything. They're outgassing. We use them to clean things, even our teeth. Taking a good look at excuse me, taking a good look at what it is you're exposing yourself to and whether those things, those poisons are really dangerous. Is it worth going through and figuring out all the ones that are new in our human environment that are recorded as being poisonous, harmful in so many different ways? And the food, the real food, right down to the nitty gritty. There's so many things about the modern food that are bad and wrong and harmful. You want to look at what those are and how harmful have they been to you? How harmful are they currently to you? So just to start off with, there's a lot of those things to look at right there. Do you have some thoughts about that, Vicki?
I muted myself too. Had to undo that. The belief system of believing cancer exists is definitely something I have to honestly acknowledge. And looking at it as something that came out of grief, birthing grief, because it was located in that birthing part of my body, is something that I've definitely that's been in my thoughts. That's been in my thoughts. Did I create this out of that grief? So that's been a big question for me throughout the whole process. And I don't know. I do still. I'd like to say I don't believe in it, but I do. So I can't say I don't believe in it and be honest. The food stuff, I think, is less pulling on me because I've had a clean environment and home and food for a really long time, and I can really see how that could lead to an accumulation of toxicity. And I don't get that that's a biggie for me. But the emotional content and belief systems, I get that that's a big component for me. And I think it's. I had a child who died, and the my surgery ended up being the day before the anniversary of her birth many decades ago. And I thought, well, that's a little bit poetic and obvious in the way my life tends to present things in poetic and obvious ways. So look at that. Look at the grief and look at the violence of the way our modern culture treats sexuality and reproduction and birthing and how especially in my younger days how eager I was to participate in that. So those are the big pieces that come up for me in response to what you've said so far. And then, of course, my Katasi training says, well, aren't those good thought forms? Ha ha ha. Um, and you know, make your bed and live in it, sort of thing. If I'm going to create all those thought forms around it, then I'm that's the pool of resonance that I'm living in.
We see the effect in people who have acquired different really serious illnesses and cancer, maybe at the top of that list, where when they have these cultural beliefs in cancer and how dangerous it is, and once they realize that they have it, they give up. Their belief system tells them that that's it. You can't get away from this. This is going to be the end, and it's going to be really terrible. It's going to have every bad thing you thought might be there for dying of cancer. It's all going to be there. You're going to have to experience that, and there's nothing that can be done. And when they do that, they just dive downhill.
Mhm.
Kind of a self-fulfilling prophecies sort of way of looking at it. And we see it in ancient cultures when they believe they have come across something that is very, very taboo. And they did something they shouldn't do. The taboo is there. They're going to die. And they do right away, really soon. We have enormous control over our physiology if we choose to have it, if we choose to learn how to acquire that. In the modern culture, we've just inundated ourselves with these blindly held beliefs about anything and everything, and lots of it being very negative. It's a wonder how we don't see even more sickness and death from that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the scale of anxiety about life, I don't think I've been that high on that scale, compared to what I see around me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say so,
yeah.
knowing you. Yeah.
And I think one of the saving graces in many ways for me in this whole process of going through the medical world and having those all of those experiences was deciding to look at it from the beginning as an initiation and completely letting go of my fear of death. I'm going, okay, we'll see where this goes. And in that way, it's been a tremendous gift, which is in our culture an odd thing to say, but it's so true to have gone through it with companions like you at my side, reminding me along the way, you chose this. Look at it, go deeper, experience it, and put yourself back together.
You've done a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Our bodies are so complex, and the medical world is starting to find out about just how complex we are. And I think they've got a long ways yet to go to find out how complex we are and how much the spiritual and the energetic and the unseen of things plays a part in our lives and our health. The ancients have said that we have the ability to change our DNA at will. At will. To change many aspects of our physiology, not just the things that we hear about Tibetan Buddhists up there in the mountains, in their seclusion and temples and stuff. These incredible things that they can do. They're up there high in the Himalayas. It's really cold, especially in the winter, a lot of snow. They go out with essentially nothing on. They have wet robes. that they take with them, and they wrap around, and they sit in the snow, and they warm their body up. They keep their body warm. They melt the snow. They dry the cloth. Just it's sitting around on their body, just wrapped around, and it could be getting wet over and over from the melting snow, but the cloth dries, and they're unharmed. They don't have frostbite. They they go into a trance, and they're performing some of their rituals, their ceremonies, and they're changing that aspect of their body and their ability to interact with the environment around them that is currently really hostile. Dangerous and hostile to human life, for sure. And they come out totally unscathed and dry and warm. The cloth too. And meanwhile, they melted away a big piece of snow that once they're gone freezes over. They change their heartbeat at will. They change their blood pressure at will. They learn to live a very long time. And it looks like most of them are living in pretty good health for their long lives. They're able to keep active. Their bodies don't fall apart with age. They've learned how to utilize these different energies, these states of feeling and being, and the emotions and the spiritual level of energy. And it's not just a level of energy in our spiritual aspect, but there's qualities of energy. Lots and lots of different qualities of energies that you can create or you can invite from the spiritual realm of things. And you can learn from this, you can heal from this, you can heal others. We are capable of some really big magic, for lack of a better word. It is a technology. It's a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical technology that's all woven together. And modern science, modern medicine just hasn't caught up to it yet. But it's there. We have these abilities. So we don't have to live in a very short life that is full of illness and injury and deterioration. There are many things we can do to not be there or to pull out of it. And I'll bring up the food aspect again. People who are living in things like the Tibetan monastery, the food they're eating is just what nature made. It's right there. Some of them are vegetarian. Most of them do eat some meat, or some of them eat a lot of meat or mostly meat. And there's a lot of stories about where their traditions came from and how they traveled around through the earth and in different parts of history, with the priesthoods going off to another place to live and do their thing and spread what they know, teach people better ways to live. Not eating modern food, anything that's processed, too processed, way over processed, full of pretend food, junk food, sugar. We don't realize what sugar goes through. You ought to look up videos about how sugar's made. It goes through this process and that one and another one, and all these chemicals and huge factories, and high heat and pressures, and in order to extract the sugar and purely from all the other chemicals that are with it, parts of the food. Sugar it's as bad as heroin and meth and cocaine and all the rest of them. It's as addictive. Some people say more addictive than all those other things. It's really hard to stop consuming it, especially if you've been gobbling it down for a lifetime. People develop really strongly emotional attachments to anything with their sugar in it, the things they like the best. The damage that it does, boy, every part of your body and every cell and the mitochondria, your blood sugar, your insulin levels, tears all the organs apart. It often starts with the thyroid and the pancreas, tearing those apart first. But it is so bad when we just stop and take a look at the picture of that. Look at the big picture, the whole world, and almost the entire population addicted to it. People addicting their babies, even when they're still nursing. They haven't had any other food, any other kind of things to eat, but they'll give them sugar, things with heavy sugar in it. We know this one child, when she was a baby, her first words were, "Coke, please." She didn't say mama, daddy, or no, or yes. She said, "Coke, please." Now that, we laugh. I mean, you can't.
You can't make this stuff up.
And when you see that, it's happening right in front of you, and the adults are laughing at that. Oh, it's so much funny. Oh, look, see, look at this. Okay, honey, now say the words, and I'll give you another sip. Yeah. The damage is just unbelievable. When those people are really tiny, they're still babies. Their brains are just forming, their nervous system is just forming, their bones, their eyes, everything in their body it's being diminished. We as people don't look the way we did as our ancestors did way before all those sorts of foods. And some people don't really think about this. They've never studied it or anything. But even ancient Egypt, dynastic Egypt, they ate sugar. They ate sugar cane, really big on sugar cane and things made out of it. The royalty could afford the sugar. Sugar was expensive to make. They could afford it. But even the common people, and they'd put these the juice of the sugar cane and other things that were sweet. They would put that in the bread. They'd put it in everything, just like we are. They're very addicted. When we look back at it, if you know what to look for, you look at the statues and the paintings, and these people are obese. Men have these big bellies. They got these big boobs. They're not supposed to have big boobs. Really big signs that they've got diabetes. And when they examine the mummies, and there's a lot of mummies, not just royalty, but the common folk, the everyday people, and they were eating really similar diets. The rich people, royalty could afford the fancier versions or more of it, but they were all suffering from the same thing, this addiction. And not too long before that, their ancestors were eating pretty much all meat, animal fat, animal products. And then when they examine those people, they're really healthy. Their bodies, their bones, they're really healthy. No diseases. The teeth are not crooked. Their jaws aren't all crunched and narrow and deformed. And they don't have signs of things like diabetes and cancers and all these allergies, autoimmune diseases. There's no sign of them. They were bigger, taller, broader, bigger skulls, bigger brains. Does that mean they were thinking better? They were smarter than us? And that's possible. That's strongly possible. What have we done to ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, what have we done through the ages? And we look at the same thing that has happened to the different cultures around the world when they started to take on a more, what we would call a modern culture, a civilization, and the agriculture and all the things that civilization do to people. It has diminished us. And the ancients say in the teachings that that was the time, that these were the ways that we stopped thinking critically. We stopped looking and observing things with our whole self. In the really old days, in the pre-flood days, the Egyptian culture was much different. And this is where they had the incredible spirituality and advancements in spiritual ways of being and living and experiencing. And that's what's been passed down through the ages from the really, really early old cultures like Mu and Atlantis and Egypt. And they say that we had it much more together. We were living in the golden ages. People could do miraculous things, had great health and all this stuff. But we've been falling into this, what they would call a sleepness, falling away from the old teachings into an asleepness that has just led to one kind of disease or another. Physical diseases, mental diseases, dementia, what they call spiritual diseases. And yeah, we've We put ourselves in a mess. And now the mess has gotten so big that we've come to what the ancients call the end of the world. This current world, this is the end of the current world. We see signs of it in every aspect of life. And we see this count of cancers. The number of people that have cancer and die from cancer is just astounding. And heart disease. When these things are not part of the population, there is no heart disease. Something like cancer would be extremely rare. All these other modern diseases, they either didn't exist at all or they were extremely rare. But here we are. Now it seems like all the adults have some sort of problem, some sort of health problem.
Or two, or
Or
three.
3 or 4 or 5. And they're
Hey.
taking the pharmaceuticals to go with it. Yes.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Okay, you slouch down. Your microphone is covering your entire mouth on the screen.
I don't know how
Okay.
that. Okay.
Yeah, when I went to doctors, they were astounded that at my age, they would say, "You're not on any medicines? You don't take anything?" And they're like, "You're the healthiest person we've ever met with cancer."
One
Because
thing
it's so standard and normal. Sorry, Helmut. It's
no,
just
that's
so
okay.
it's just so normal in our culture for people to be on medications, and especially older people to be on a whole slew of medications. That it's thought that that's normal.
And good.
Mm.
And they don't even know enough about these pharmaceutical medicines
Mm-mm.
to be prescribing them out and in so many different numbers mixed. They mix them all together in somebody's body. And it's like we're this living test tubes. Throw all these pharmaceuticals in there, stir them up, see what happens. Oh, let's watch. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need to go further down that rabbit hole. I'd like to touch on one part of your question where you ask how to move forward and how to monitor, how to verify
Yeah.
that things
That's the
are
biggest
good
question now.
and stay good.
Thank you.
You can monitor yourself by looking at your own self, your weight, the shape of your body, the color of your body, the strength, how well you're doing, how well you're eating. Do you have any other diseases? And if for other people out there, are you taking prescriptions for something else? Probably, but and what? What are they doing to you? And are they helping with that cancer? Are they helping do anything? Are they mixing poorly in the chemical way inside your body with all these other pharmaceuticals? You need to pay attention, learn your own body, learn how it feels, learn what it feels like to have the cancer, remember what it felt like before you ever got it. And if you can, use your senses, like smell. You can smell your own smells that your body produces, and that can tell us a great deal about whether we're sick or not, or how sick, or where we're sick, or what we're sick with. Cancer has a specific smell to it, very specific. Diabetes has its own smell. Heart disease has its own smell. Everything does. And we can learn to detect that and keep a watch on ourselves. For most people, they're probably going to want to tune into a doctor, a regular MD, and get the regular MD tests, your blood tests, your thyroid test, your iodine tests. There's a whole bunch of tests that you might really want to see that they don't regularly give. You have to ask specifically for them and do that on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Clean up your diet. Our ancestors, whether they were eating plants or meat or both, they didn't have modern food. They didn't have processed food. They didn't have processed vegetable oils, seed oils, the oils that are coming from plants. Those are horrible for our health. Really, really, really bad. Take them out of your diet. Take the sugar out. Take the fake food out. Like Cool Whip. It imitates whipped cream. And it's just chemicals and sugar and artificial sweeteners. So if you can get all these chemicals, artificial things, fake food stuff out of your diet, you're going a long ways to being healthier. And if you want to get even healthier than that, get a little stricter, take out all starches.
Mm-hmm.
Starches are just a complex sugar. They turn into sugar in your body. Any kind of grain, wheat, bread, pasta, potatoes, any starch, take it out and eat more meat. The ancients talk about that. Eat meat. And if I'm going to be really bold. And even in the Bible, in Genesis, they're starting out with the first family, and then Adam and Eve, and they got Cain and Abel, and the boys are growing up, and they start making food. They start growing food. And one of them's growing just meat. The other one is growing just plants, mostly grains. And when it came time that it's harvest time, they typically make an offering to God. Make an offering of your harvest to your Creator. And so the meat grower takes his pieces of his meat, and the plant grower takes pieces of the plants and makes those offerings. And God accepts the meat, but not the plants.
Mm.
Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? What's the history behind that? And of course, we all know the story about what happens after that. We got jealous brothers and all this kind of stuff, and bad things happen. But we need more meat and animal fat. In the Sumerian stories, after the Great Flood, as the flood was happening, the Anunnaki, this is a Sumerian story, the Anunnaki, who were space people who came here, so they had a ship, they all left. They vacated, went up in their ship, but they stayed around and they're watching all the damage and all the people die off and all this stuff, and they're getting really hungry. They ran out of provisions, and when the people that were left found some land, water was receding. They found land and they found some things growing, and even with the story uh, with Noah's Ark, um, they had some animals that they could use for food there, and they made their offering of meat. In the Sumerian story, it's a goose, at least one big goose, and they could even smell it from where they were. And they were so hungry, they came down and they accepted that gift, but not the bread. None of the plants. So, what does that mean? What does that tell us about our ancestors? What were they eating? What did they prefer to eat? What did they know was better to be eating? And definitely includes meat and animal fat. And I recommend eating more of that. Whatever your problem is, eat more of it. More meat, more animal fat. And maybe make bone broth. Good, strong, long cooked bone broth. And really good salt. Don't go for that commercially made fake salt in the grocery store. It's made in a factory. It's just chemicals that have been put together. It has absolutely no natural source at all from nature. And our body doesn't recognize it. It's not good for you. Don't ever eat that. Eat real salt from a salt mine or dried ocean water, salt water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are things that we have power over that. We have easy power over that. We can change those things in our lives really, really easily, real fast. And you could do that like in a day. You could say, like after the show, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy the meat and the fat and some butter, and we're going to eat a lot more of it tonight. We can do it really fast, and it starts working really, really fast. But as a species, our race never got used to completely 100%. We never got used to all the plants. They still give us trouble in some way or another. Just about every single plant you could think of. Some a whole lot more than others. So looking into that, is that something that your body is responding strongly to? Or maybe it's just a few plants that you've been eating that your body hates, that really your body really doesn't know how to deal with them, and they've become poisonous to you. I know all of us grew up with plant this, plant that, plant everything, cook everything, mix everything together, make it fancy.
I do live on an organic farm. I mean,
Yeah,
it's part of my life and
yeah,
has been.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful life.
Yeah.
Most people don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
Most people don't. So they're going to have to find other ways to to find really good things to eat. The fact that you learned about junk food and sugar at such an early age, so long ago, that is really tremendous. That has helped you a great deal, kept your body a lot cleaner, a lot stronger, a lot more able to withstand whatever it was that was going on.
Yeah.
You got any more questions, Vicky? You're slouching down again.
I think I still have the monitoring question. Like, how do I monitor it all going forward? And what I heard you say is by monitoring my health, by deciding what I could use, information I could use from the medical world to help me do that, by understanding how my body felt pre-cancer, how it feels now post-cancer. Although I'm still recovering from the toxicity of the treatments, and the smells and all of those kinds of things. But I want an easy way.
Have you?
Like a yes, no button I can push.
Yeah, you can. The red one, the pendulum. And
Yeah.
don't forget your friends from that world. And also
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
big help.
Yeah. Because in such a big question, I sometimes question whether my own penduluming for me is as accurate as asking someone who's dispassionately or unjudgmentally clearer. Yeah.
Yeah, that often helps. Sometimes when it's our own problem, we get in our own way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We get afraid, we get in our own way. We let some of those beliefs that we've got stashed away confuse us.
Yeah.
They
Well,
come.
that's why in the process, when I was going through all of that, I would ask you, like, you know, can you double check on this for me, or can you double check on that for me? And a couple of other of my friends through Katasi, and that's really helpful.
In the Katasi tradition, we do what is traditionally called hands-on healing, although it doesn't depend on you touching the person personally. You could be sitting next to them, you could be in the next room, you could be on the other side of the planet. It doesn't really matter. But these healings are very thorough and very deep, and they involve what the ancient Egyptians called psychic surgery. So they go into many different ways, processes of being in trance, going into somebody else's body, talking to their body part spirits, like the spirit of the liver and the spirit of the uterus, and whoever's talking to them. And they ask questions, and they ask to be shown, and they ask, what are the steps I need to do? What happened here? All these different questions that you could take a long time asking a lot of questions and learning a lot of good stuff, and how to do the procedure of cleaning everything out. cleaning everything,
Yeah.
cleaning out,
Yeah.
and sometimes repairing, taking an organ out, the old sick one out, and its blueprint and its energy field, take it out of the body, put a new one in with the spirits helping you do it. And it can be incredibly effective. We often have to do it over and over and over for a while because of people's beliefs, their own energy fields, and how they think themselves into staying sick or being sick or believing or not believing or yeah. So we end up having to do it over and over sometimes for a little while till the body catches on and holds it. And the person in their own mind and their feeling and their spirit, their body, they've accepted it. They take it on and absorb it and accept it. And everything starts healing. It's a very miraculous procedures. And like Helmut mentioned, are what we call a red door. I don't have one within reach, but do you?
I do. It'll
Oh,
take me just less than a minute to grab it.
okay.
We'll be talking about that a lot more this year. So
The red door is this healing device that definitely the spirits helped me figure it out. It came from all the ancient teachings, both the Hedekas of Peru and the pre-flood Egyptians from that tradition, and how they built their altars and their sacred objects. And tilt it to just a little bit so we could see that it's a bowl. So it's a bowl. It has papers inside, and it really needs to be certain proportions, certain size, certain materials, certain color, all that kind of stuff. And it creates an energy field, which modern science is calling a scalar field. It creates this scalar field, goes into what they call a subspace that is totally outside of time and space. And so what she's putting into the bowl there, I could be having a bowl here with her witness in it. Her, yeah, that says, go to her. That's the target. That defines the target. So I would have the same thing if it was a bowl here, and the different pieces of paper, frequencies, numbers that represent these different parts of the body or processes or diseases, and put that all in the bowl. And with a scalar wave, it takes the energy from where the bowl is and sends it into the subspace, and it instantaneously goes into the person that's supposed to receive it. And that could be, like I said, on the other side of the world. Could even be in the moon. The moon. Actually, there were some people who. This is a radionics process. They had a different kind of radionics machine that they were experimenting with, and when the guys went to the moon and walked on the moon and all that, they did processes that they could verify up on the moon and in their body that it got to them, and it went instantaneously. It just moves outside of time space. So we call that the red door, and we use a pendulum, which I don't have one of those right here either. You
I got
hold one end of it, and it has a thing on the bottom that's weighted a little bit on a string or a chain, and you hold it really still. You get it to move a little bit. You hold as still as you can while it's moving, and you ask the questions, yes, no questions. And you've decided ahead of time. One side is a no, one's a yes, and it'll always swing to where it needs to go to answer the question. And sometimes we're afraid we got in our own way and fudged up the answer to the question. And that's why we might ask somebody else. So we got a lot of our students, a lot of practitioners of the Red Door that have been doing this. There's classes to take to teach you how to do this and how to be able to assess, to go through somebody's whole body, and with a number system of 0 to 100, you can assess how well all the different organs are doing, different body parts, and what the different problems are, what kind of poisons they might have in their body, what disease they have or don't have. You can assess all of those things. So in following up on your cancer, the healings, either doing them yourself or having one of the other students help you and do a healing, or doing the Red Bull, or have them help you and fix a bowl for you and take care of it for you. And so those,
And we're going to do level 4 again, aren't we?
we're going to be doing level 4 again really soon, and
Yay.
that is the beginning of the teaching.
That's huge.
Hands-on healing teaching,
Huge.
where you learn how to direct your energy, how to focus it, how to aim it out of your body into another's. And it's never coming out of your own energy stores, but it's coming from the universe. It's always coming from the universe, and you learn how to get more and more of it and deliver more and more of it. Very, very, very effective. These are all incredibly effective techniques. And I highly recommend anybody that's sick, wants to get better, this is a good way to start. And of course, add the diet stuff to it, and maybe your environment. Take a look at what are you using for dish soap, and what do you clean the floor with, and your clothes, and what are you eating? It comes back to all the stuff that we've put into our bodies. And all these things that we put in our bodies, they have a physical component that might be good and healthy for you on that physical aspect, but they also have an energetic, spiritual aspect to them. Every one of them. Clorox, Mercury, all those different things. They all have an energetic, a spiritual aspect to them, and they can be harming you on all those different levels in ways that you have no idea. We've never been taught these things in our schools, and our MDs, medical system, doesn't know anything about this level of healing, of living, of life. It affects all life on this planet. So those are two things that I can strongly recommend. But also, if you want that medical reassurance, to get the blood tested, there are doctors out there, lots of labs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, my pure scientist doctor actually began to speak about shamanism a little bit, because I kept saying, well, I'm working with this shamanistic work, I'm working with this medicine person, this shaman, this, that, and she says, well, you're kind of in our books a bit of a miracle, so I guess we have to attribute some of that to all those shamans you talk about.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, I've been very impressed at your your mental attitude, and your
Thank you.
willingness to work on your own belief system, or that inner structure that we have. We've learned those beliefs since the day we were born. I mean, they're really wedged in, and we really we it's almost like an addiction where we feel so so bound to these ideas that they absolutely have to be correct.
Sometimes we don't even, we're so bound to them, we don't even realize we're thinking them and we're conjuring them up.
That's right.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work just to get to the baseline of recognizing the programmed information that doesn't serve us.
It doesn't serve us at all. Yeah. Or you could say that it serves us in a really inefficient, poor, and disease-causing way.
It it serves to give us good initiations
That's
that we
right.
get to work through.
The ancients say that every problem that we have, or encounter, or obstacles, injuries, traumas, diseases, and any of this that we encounter, these are opportunities. That word comes up a lot. Opportunity. An opportunity to learn tremendous amounts, things that we never would have expected.
I am witness to that. I am certainly witness to that. And I, speaking metaphorically, I went to the edge of that cliff and went over and then landed and had to put myself back together. Landed on that canyon floor. I wrote a whole big poem piece about it. I'll read it to you some point.
It's a very shamanic way of going through an experience. Sometimes it's in a dream, or it's in a spirit journey, a trance of some kind. But they do something, series of something or steps that takes their whole body apart.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get it back. Maybe it burns up, or it totally falls apart, falls into dust, or all these different kind of images. And then they have to grow themselves back anew and better, and without the old things that made them sick in the first place. Very, very shamanic tale. Yes.
And that, if anybody finds themselves in my shoes, or their own shoes that are similar to mine, and gets crazy diagnoses, I highly recommend you find a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
And use it to wake up.
That's a big point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. That's what it's all about, is to wake up out of the fog that we have found ourselves in. Our culture has put ourselves into this fog, this asleepness.
Yeah.
We need to wake up.
That is a subject for another.
Yeah.
But whatever disease you have, whatever sickness, illness, injury, maybe you're in a car accident, it's not a disease, but you're all broke up. These are opportunities. And these are huge lessons for waking up. And when we are more awake or all the way awake, we can feel, we can see the ways to repair things back to normal, to incorporate our perfect blueprint, to restore that in all things in our body.
I'd like to add gratitude as a big piece of that. There's nothing quite like facing one's own death to bring this beautiful gratitude of the sun on a leaf and being able to see that and to wake up each day, even in the midst of difficulty. That gratitude is such a massive medicine. Such a massive medicine. And I know it was a big part of my healing.
Yeah. It's a very big part of the teachings.
Yeah, yeah.
Giving gratitude every single day, and they ceremonialize it. They make a little ceremony out of it, or a very long ceremony out of it sometimes. And it's just thanking everything that you could think of that's in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually start out with a sun. Thank you, sun, for your beingness and your presence.
Yeah.
And everything else that follows that you could think of. And feeling it
Yes.
while you're saying it. Sometimes saying it out loud helps us feel it more, and we stay more tuned into it. But you could do it in silence, speaking in your head, in your heart.
In the midst of anything, in the midst of anything I found that I was experiencing, in the midst of having the chemo put into my body, loving it and being grateful for what is in the midst of anything.
That's
medicine.
it. That's
Yeah.
That's hitting the nail on the head. You hear other cultures talk about gratitude. The ancient cultures really stress it. They put very big weight on the gratitude. So every ceremony they have, all the rituals, and when they're talking about their deities or the different aspects of life, there's always, the way they talk is always a language of gratitude.
Feeling it.
Feeling it. You have to feel. Feeling is what that's the part that helps make everything happen. You can think about it and think of it, and you're sending the thoughts off, and they're affecting things and in their own flavor, their own way. But when you feel it, when you feel it while you're thinking it, that's the doorway. Because we're feeling it with our emotions, we're feeling it with our physical senses, and that leads you to the spirit senses. And you can feel it to the spirit senses and wake your spirit senses up. We've had them asleep most of our lives. We turned them off after we were born, because that's the way of the culture. We learned how to do that. And then to wake up, you got to turn them back on.
I think that's been one of the biggest gifts of Katasi in my life is that learning to sort through the thoughts to the feeling and to the genuine experience. And I as I'm saying that, I am hearing that quote from Domano of "We teach you how to catch," and I think that is that having the feeling experience of being present in the world, of having gratitude, of being gratitude is a big part of that catching, at least from my experience so far.
Yeah. It tunes you in. It puts you right into the right vibration to be able to feel all of these things with our regular senses and emotions. But the spirit senses just tunes you right into that. The Egyptians, pre-flood Egyptians, not dynastic. The pre-flood Egyptians say that they knew that the human bodies has 5 physical senses, but 360 spirit senses.
That's an invitation to adventure right there.
Yeah, that is. That is.
Yeah. To discover those, some of those.
I heard an old man who was part of a local tribe in Egypt and lived in Giza, lived near the pyramids. He's very learned. He had studied the pre-flood ways from the local traditions, the local people, local priests, not from anything that the tourists would see, but hidden away because that stuff has been forbidden by Muslim law for a long time. You had to be very secret about it. But in the tribe, he became an elder and a teacher of it. And when things became more open to the public, he started sharing it. He learned English really well and some other languages, and he had studied the written Egyptian language, so he knew a lot of that as well. And he called some of what he studied at one time Sufi. So I don't know exactly how that fits in everything. But he's the one that I heard on a video. He was taking a crew of people around the sites in Egypt and for them to do their ceremonies or whatever they wanted to do with these different places. And he'd be teaching them along the way. And that's where I heard about 360 spirit senses was from this guy. He's now passed on, but his oldest son has taken his place and does the tours. He does the teaching. They call it Kemp teaching. The land of Kemp. Kemp means black. This was the land of the black soil.
Okay, ladies.
We could go on and on. Yes,
I know you can.
I know. Thank you, Helmut, for keeping us on task.
Anything else? Any other question?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you.
Thank
For
you.
for these years of teachings that have guided me through this big challenge and just through every sweet day. Thank you.
We thank you. We learn as much from you as you could possibly be learning from us. So,
Yeah.
and it takes work to study.
Mhm.
Yeah. We thank you for your work and your diligence and your persistence.
Okay, we are closing out. This was beautiful. Thanks for getting the ring. If you want to, for the people listening later, if you want to hear more, learn more, subscribe to the YouTube channel here. Click notifications if you want to get notified when we come online again, which we plan to do a lot more often and talk about many different things. And if you want to learn more about Kay, her writings, her books, our work, the teachings, there's a link in the bottom left corner. You can go to Linktree. There's a lot of our links there. linktr.ee/Katase. And I don't know if I mentioned that, but if you have questions, put them in the comments and we may take them up for a talk. So,
And take one of the starting courses if you haven't already. If it's not for you, you'll figure that out really quickly, but you may find some amazing things in there.
listen to Vicky.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I got to admit, the teachings are absolutely brilliant, and they captured me from an early age, back in my 20s. And my teachers, Damano and Chia Hedeka, when I met them, they definitely scared me. They were so different, but they had something.
Mhm.
They had something so special, and I wanted it. I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to know more about it and maybe have it myself someday. And I've never stopped from that day.
If you want to start out with books, the two books are The Reluctant Shaman and Sacred Link, and start with The Reluctant Shaman if you want to just pick one.
Just start. You know, if you're even listening to this, you have had a desire to wake up more and more. So
Yeah.
keep going. Join us.
Oh, wrong button. Okay, good show, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And enjoy the ride. Love you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.